I mean, he fits the whole Real Madrid philosophy, you know. Okay.
Trent Alexander-Arnold, Real Madrid, a philosophy of signing the best players in different positions across the pitch in the world. And come this summer, Los Blancos' next target is Liverpool's homegrown superstar.
Trent Alexander-Arnold to Real Madrid is getting closer.
As the weeks have progressed, it's a reality both Liverpool, Real Madrid and the player himself are beginning to understand. Trent Alexander-Arnold might just be ready for a move away from the club now. The hype around this one has been building for weeks, but when it gets down to it, is Trent really the right man for the position? To answer this, we've got to ask a couple of questions first. Haven't you subscribed to Football Historia yet? If you haven't, click that button down below. But really, to understand if Trent is the right man in the right back position for Real Madrid, we've got to factor in a couple of things. And the first one is, for a club as good as Real Madrid, how does Trent play?
It's a once-in-a-generation type of player, and he needs to be in a higher position, doing the best things going forward.
To say he's a talent would be an understatement. Just watching Trent play from a viewer's perspective, we would be talking about a guy who has redefined what it means to play as a right back. His incredible range of passing is sometimes out of this world.
I enjoy highlight videos. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but the Trent Alexander-Arnold.
When Jurgen Klopp said this, a few people might have thought the former Liverpool manager would have been exaggerating, but in reality, it's the truth. With Trent Alexander-Arnold, sometimes you don't need the goals. Just watching him spray passes across the field, whip balls in or find teammates with moves you didn't even see coming is enough. Or is it? Now we know how good the guy is. In the context of a move to Real Madrid, who is Trent Alexander-Arnold then?
En este contexto es un poco más complicado, ya veremos. Lo único que puedo decir, porque tenemos un montón de partidos en enero, estamos focalizados en esto.
Right now, unless you live under a rock, it'll be hard to deny the rumors swirling about a potential exit for Trent Alexander-Arnold from Liverpool to Real Madrid. And that's because, for Los Blancos, he fits the description of what they're looking for, a Galactico. Now in this context, we need to understand what the team is and how it's evolved. See guys, for Real Madrid, the idea of the Galacticos involved signing the best players in the different positions across the world. From the likes of Zinedine Zidane to Cristiano Ronaldo, you just knew that whenever Real Madrid had a major unveiling at the Bernabeu, it was for a special talent. But still, on the idea of the Galacticos, there's been a common misconception. What's that? Well, almost everyone thinks the term Galactico refers to a player Madrid is willing to pay a huge amount of money for, but that doesn't exactly justify it. You need an example?
Let's welcome Kylian Mbappé.
Kylian Mbappé is a Galactico. He cost Real Madrid €0 in transfer fees. So guys, in this context, the appropriate term for a Galactico refers to a superstar player who shows ability in a specific position that very few players on the planet can reach, and that's where Trent Alexander-Arnold comes in.
But at the number one spot, Trent, it's very, very clear he is the best right back in the world. And
This is saying a lot, especially when you consider the pool of world-class right backs in the game, including the one from Real Madrid, which we'll get to. But on the current ability in that position, Trent stands out.
I want to speak about Trent Alexander-Arnold. When you watch him, do you think this is just a world-class talent? It's Trent.
They're all talented. As a football man, right, I look at them all and I says they've all got different qualities. They're blessed to have this, you know. Look, the other day they put Trent in centre midfield, sort of thing.
Even Reece James's dad agrees to an extent, and that says something. But focusing solely on Trent from the Real Madrid perspective, we now know how good he is and why they would be interested in him. He fits the Real Madrid picture on paper at least, a world-class right back, possibly the best in the world, and would continue with Real Madrid's rebuilding phase. Look at the core of the team. It's become a mixture of youth and not necessarily experience, but players in their prime, or at least the ones about to enter it. The likes of Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo Goes, Aurelien Tchouameni, Eduardo Camavinga, Arda Güler, and Jude Bellingham, all players who are aged 25 and under, represent a talent pool Real Madrid is building for the future. Shift slightly from that and you've got this guy. At 26, Kylian Mbappé is a season away from entering what most consider to be the prime of any professional footballer's career, 27 to 32-ish. Hypothetically speaking, if Trent did join Real Madrid this winter window or in the summer, he'd fall under this Mbappé category. And from this angle, it once again just feels like the perfect deal for Real Madrid. They'd be getting what's supposed to be the prime years out of Trent Trent at the Bernabeu. Potentially scary stuff, but not for them. There's a but in all of this. See guys, on paper, Trent looks like a perfect fit for this Real Madrid system, but let's realistically look at it, because with his potential signing, there are a lot of lapses people tend to miss. For starters, it's the age-old debate: can Trent Alexander-Arnold actually defend?
Them chances for United, so easy, just a couple of balls over the top. We talk about how brilliant Trent is going forward, but Trent's defending today, my goodness, it's like schoolboy stuff. To talk about him going to Real Madrid, the way he's defending, he's going to Tranmere Rovers after this.
Safe to say, Roy Keane doesn't think so, and that's been an underlying question about Trent that pops up every now and then, as the game against Man United exposed.
I spoke to him before the game, and then I already said to everyone, maybe you were not there, things I talked to him about I do not share over here. But it's normal that you talk to players always, and in this situation it wasn't his best game, so there were things I had to show which he has to improve.
This is Arne Slot coming out to state that he's had a conversation with Trent about certain aspects of his game, particularly the defending, and that he's got to improve. If you're Real Madrid or Carlo Ancelotti looking at this, it only spells danger ahead. A few weeks back, Madrid was in a mini crisis. Losing back-to-back against Barcelona and AC Milan highlighted this, and particularly in the game against Milan, there was one talking point that kept coming up over and over.
Well, I told you, like, hey, I'm very worried about Lucas Vázquez playing alone.
They could get away with it in a couple of games, but in the big ones, Real Madrid's lack of a proper right-back was very obvious. This is coming up because there are a couple of similarities to both Trent Alexander-Arnold and Lucas Vázquez's game. Both like to attack, both can whip in dangerous balls from the channels, and on the flip side when it comes to defending, both aren't exactly the best of it. So in reality, could Real Madrid just be getting a modified version of Lucas Vázquez then? Well, it wouldn't be far from it. Still, on that age-long debate of Trent's defending, we've been on this for years actually.
I said to Slot that I would like to be the defender that no one wants to come up against in Europe. We agreed that he will be harsh on me. If any time an attack gets by me and gets past me, he will call it out in meetings and individual meetings and say this cannot happen. He continued, it is really refreshing to have a manager who will help and guide and teach me how to be better as a player. I'm someone who wants to learn, someone who wants to be the best, and someone who strives to be the best ever.
When he made this statement about requesting that Arne Slot be brutal with him in his assessment of his defensive positioning and help him improve that aspect of his game, it seemed like we were going to be getting a complete package with Trent for the first time in terms of defending. But still, going back to that United game, I mean the lapses we saw, it's an all too familiar story. A lack of proper positioning and failure to intercept balls ultimately led to goals that eventually cost the team all 3 points. Let's deal with facts now. Trent Alexander-Arnold is 26. He turns 27 this year. He's not a kid anymore. If he's going to develop and improve certain attributes of his game, not saying this is impossible, but if he was going to be that complete package, we would have seen it by now. This didn't happen, and it's only just a clear warning sign to Carlo Ancelotti and that Real Madrid team about the baggage that comes with Trent, at least defensively. Does Madrid need a new right-back? Well, the answer is yes and no. For starters, he's been around for years. If we were to blind rank the top 5 right-backs in the world right now, Dani Carvajal is top 2. He finished 4th in the 2024 Ballon d'Or rankings. For a right-back, that's absolutely insane. Dani Carvajal has been a consistent performer for Real Madrid over the years. Ever since he made the position his own in 2014, he hasn't looked back and has been a loyal servant to the club. If we decided to compare him to Trent, while his numbers might not exactly add up attacking-wise with the English fullback, they're not bad. And defensively, well, Carvajal clearly edges it. So if this is the case, then why does Madrid still want to get Trent Alexander-Arnold then? As we've touched on earlier, what Alexander-Arnold could bring to this Madrid team going forward seems too irresistible for the club. But as we're seeing now, this could end up becoming a case of going after something so hard that they lose what they've got. At 32, Dani Carvajal still has at least 2 to 3 more decent years ahead of him. I mean, yeah, he's out with an ACL injury at the moment, but if he continues with his rehab and makes a return as expected, if the Carvajal we've come to know does return, it's going to be a dilemma for Carlo Ancelotti in that position. Again, at 32, Carvajal will most definitely be looking for active football, especially after the season he had last. I mean, we just casually said that, but deeping it again, a defender finishing as the 4th best player in the world is beyond normal. That's crazy impressive. So now we know 2 reasons why Trent might not be such a good idea for Madrid. He's not exactly the best defensively, a criteria Madrid should be looking for in that position, and they've already got one of the top 2 right-backs in the world, Dani Carvajal, or at least until he returns from injury. Are there more reasons why Trent isn't such a good fit? Well, you bet. For this one, we've got Kylian Mbappe to thank.
When Real Madrid inevitably do sign Kylian Mbappe, they will have one of the best attacking teams in the entire world. But this may just cause enormous tactical problems for whoever eventually replaces Carlo Ancelotti.
They did sign him. Ancelotti is still at the club, but there are a couple of things to be pointed out here. To start with, Real Madrid signing Mbappe showed what a big-name move can do to an already successful team. After he hit rock bottom versus Athletic Club and back-to-back penalty misses against Athletic Club and Liverpool, Mbappe was under the spotlight for a lot of reasons, and most of them were bad. As a team, Mbappe imbalanced the tactics. Ancelotti admitted to having to find ways to get all that firepower in attack on the pitch at the same time, and in the end he had to change tactics just to fit the team, and the adaptation wasn't as seamless. Madrid struggled. Going back to Trent Alexander-Arnold now, and honestly, you could see the same thing happening. Again, that Lucas Vazquez is getting as many minutes as he is now is down mainly to Carvajal's injury. We'll get a basis on when Carvajal gets back. It's safe to say he's a more complete right back in a sense than Trent, and what he offers both defensively and offensively helps the team. If you take this away and bring Trent, they're sacrificing more attacking threat for less defensive quality. The next possible option could be this.
Trent Alexander-Arnold as a fullback for me, in my opinion. The best thing about Trent Alexander-Arnold is everything is going forward.
You know, come to think of it, this could be what Real Madrid has in store for him, and if it is, it's more chaos. Still going back to the Mbappe situation to understand what this is. When Mbappe arrived at the club, to get him in the team, he played centrally and still does. If Dani Carvajal returns with the same level of intensity he was at before his injury, it'll be very hard to keep him out of the team, and with a player as creative as Trent, leaving him out with his qualities might be very hard, and the only solution could be to play in a different position, say midfield for example. Heck, he could even become a David Beckham regen and play down the right wing as a right-sided midfielder. In all, the Trent situation just poses different problems for Madrid, and problems so far that don't exactly seem to have any answers. Where is he going to play? How is he going to play? Will Real Madrid be willing to sacrifice so much going forward for fewer options at the back? To be fair to Los Blancos, the right-back position is one they've been looking to strengthen for a while. The 2 main options in there, Lucas Vazquez and Dani Carvajal, are into their 30s and will only keep advancing in age, so it's easy to understand the idea to get Trent coming in and playing the best football of his career at the club possibly. But yet again, if he does arrive, it kind of shows how Madrid deviating from a recent policy that's been in their favour. Post Eden Hazard, seemed Real Madrid decided to take up a new policy in the transfer market that's been working for them. When Hazard arrived in the Spanish capital, he was 28, at the peak of his powers with Chelsea and the Belgium national team, and it didn't quite work out. From that period on, Madrid began building a young core. The names we mentioned earlier, the likes of Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Vinicius, Rodrigo, Bellingham, Güler, Endrick, they weren't cheap, but these were young players they brought in, and more importantly, young players who could come in and learn from a system. You could make an argument that Trent joining Madrid could end up being the club that helps him improve defensively, and in this regard, examples like Luka Modric come into play, one of the best midfielders of his generation, but also a player who after that horrible start in 2013 continued to develop. So this could happen, but again it's down to balance and what Real is willing to sacrifice. It is important to point out though that all of this is still only hypothetical, and that's because Trent and Liverpool still haven't made a final decision on the player's career yet.
That Liverpool have turned down an approach for Trent Alexander-Arnold from Real Madrid.
Liverpool reportedly rejected a move from Real for Trent, meaning all roads point to a showdown set for the summer. He's the club's vice-captain, homegrown talent, being touted as the next Steven Gerrard for years. He could eventually decide to remain at the club, and if he does, then all of this is once again just a conversation. The move, though, seems more likely to happen than it isn't to. On Liverpool's part, losing him for free might be painful, but then again he costs the club nothing in terms of a transfer fee, and for a player of his quality and what he's done for the team over the years, he'd probably be best off taking Rio Ferdinand's advice at this point.
My advice to Trent Alexander and his team would be get that agreement done
and then come out and be honest with Liverpool fans, because they'll respect you and love you more when you leave.
If Trent does join, it's the Galacticos again. Go back to when Madrid had the likes of Roberto Carlos, Zidane, Ronaldo Nazario, Beckham, all these guys in one team, and that could be what we're about to witness again. While all the talk has been about potential incomings, there's one guy who always seems to get under the radar of the club. Rodrigo Goes recently turned 24 and has been Real Madrid's clutch king for years. And if you're Kylian Mbappe, that's just one of the many reasons why he's got a fear in this season. Want to find out what the rest are? Well, it's all in the next video.